So let's go. So today we'll talk about drugs in sports. My name is Yasmin. I'm 21 years old. I live in São Paulo with my family and my grandmother, my parents. So I work as a teacher here on TALKNTALK too. And what about you, Breno? Who are you?
I'm 30 years old, videographer from São Luís, Maranhão. I've been working in this field for about 8 years. This is my main source of area. I'm married. I like this topic because I've been practicing sports since I was a kid. I started with swimming, then skateboarding, then skateboard, then workouts, and then running. So lately I've been just running, but I like workout at gym as well. But I paused the exercise for a while, but that's it.
Yeah, very good. So you are like a healthy person when we are talking about do exercises and things like this.
No, not that much because I should have good habits of food and eating healthy food. So I need to be more careful with this other side of doing sport because it's important to have a good, you know, uh, good, it's good to eat good foods to perform better. So I would say that I have to be better on this side.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I feel you because for me it's the same. Like I go to the gym every day, but my the way that I eat it's not so good, so I don't have so much energy to do the things at the gym. So I totally feel you. And let's start. So the first question is what are your thoughts on athletes using performance in racing drugs? What do you think about it? Do you have an opinion?
Yes, I like this topic because uh um coincidentally a few weeks ago I was reading about this topic because I was curious about the term PAD, which means exactly performance enhancing drugs. So I was, what is PAD? And then I realized that it's is performance enhancing drugs, and I would say that it's a reality, it's a fact. So as it's a fact, you cannot put it, you cannot hide, this reality from a part of sports because everybody does that in sports, especially when we are talking about high performance sports. And I would say, uh, that being said, you have to. It's hard for me because I don't have much knowledge about what kinds of sports really requires PAD. But for some of them that I have knowledge, like bodybuilding, for example, I would say that it's unfair to compete and not using PAD because all of them, without exceptions, use PAD to be more muscular and to perform better on stage. So in that sport specifically, I would say that it's acceptable, and uh, they know, even the ones, the judges and the ones that are evaluating the performance, they know that those athletes use drugs, you know. On the other hand, when you are talking about, for example, swimming, running, or for example, bicycle sports, it's not, I believe, that's my opinion, I think it's not necessary, because it's kind of weird, because it's like you are not being you know what I mean? And yeah, and that's sad. But as I said before, as everybody is using it, you have to to find ways to deal with it in a wisely way. So yeah, that's what I think for now.
Yeah, it's really nice what you said, like about competition. It's really unfair. Like you competing with someone that take this kind of drug. So, and I have one question for you. Like, do you think that pre-workout, that it's like a drink or some pills that you take before the workout, are drugs or not?
No, because pre-workouts, they are regulated by, Anvisa and some organizations, but from the healthy service government, and they use the same uh, components of, for example, caffeine that you can find on coffees, for example. So the base of the components are natural components. They just separate and concentrate the components in a specific product. So of course you have to be careful to not be addicted to it, because I believe that everything can be addictable, especially sugar, for example, that is really common, for example. And so you can also say that sugar is a drug as well. So it depends on your point of view, depends on what case we are talking about, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Really nice what you said, like about things that we could be addicted to. And yeah, I think it's something that we need to really think about. And you said like something about like swimming. And do you think like athletes in all sports take drugs? Because like for me, I know that some sports that you need to use like your force, some of them use drugs. And you, what do you think?
Mhm. I I I I tend to believe that some sports are most uh, exposed to drugs than others, because some of them are visible and others are not visible. For example, as I said, swimming or volleyball, for example, we have different people, and you cannot measure or know which one is using drugs or not. And even if they all are using drugs, for example, in a volleyball team, it's hard to measure if they are using the same drugs in the same level, in the same way, or even though if they are performing in the same level, So it's not, in my opinion, it's not fair to see drugs in other sports beside bodybuilding. I believe that bodybuilding is the only sport that drugs are, PAD are allowed because you perform alone. You don't depend on someone else, and you are not like on a team, for example, And yeah, even in swimming, that you are performing alone, but I think it's not fair, because the beauty of sports is to endure yourself uh, and expose your full potential, your fully potential on something, and I cannot see drugs like PAD on swimming or other sports in an invisible way. It's not, it just doesn't make sense for me, because for example, if you will use PAD for bodybuilding, that drug will be in your body for a long period or a medium period, like a month at least, or 3 months. So the same doesn't make sense for me. For example, if you use that just for one competition, like in the swimming, that you just perform once and you don't need the drug like for a long period, So it's understandable. I know I'm taking too long with that answer, but it's understandable when you start using drug to perform, to have a more muscular body in the near future. So you plan what you are doing. You are doing that wisely with uh, um, doing exams and with the how can I panel physician, we're going to panel physician so he can check you're healthy, if you are doing it right or wrong. So it makes more sense for me than other sports.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like for me it doesn't make sense because it's not something that I really know about it. So I think like I always think, okay, you are competing with someone else, and maybe and it's about body, right? We have different bodies. Maybe without this kind of drug, it's impossible to have that body that people who works with this has. But in the same way, for me, it's not fair.
Yeah, it would be
So
better if the drugs doesn't exist at all in sports. But in bodybuilding, for example, if it already exists and if you cannot get rid of them, so we have nothing to do anymore. So it would be really nice if, for example, we start a category of sports that all persons are free of drugs. Would be really nice. We are coming back to the old school ways of doing sports. It would be really nice, but nowadays it's really hard to have free persons free of drugs.
yeah, very good. And I think like talking about this, we can skip to question number 6. That is, how often do you think athletes need to be tested? Like, we know that it's allowed in this sport, but in others, it's not allowed. So, how often do you think people like need to check it?
As far as I know, different drugs requires different testings. For example, uh, some drugs stays in your body for 15 days. Other drugs stays in your body in your blood, for example, for 3 months, and so on. So it depends on the case we are talking about, but I would say that 3 months is acceptable because it's in the middle of the life. I don't know how to say that in English, but midlife maybe. But in Portuguese we have this expression that says meia vida. of some drug. So I would say that 3 months is acceptable because 15 days to a month is the beginning of the, the development of some drug. And then 3 months, you are in the middle of this. And then 6 months or a year is like the ending of, but 3 months, I think would be acceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't know about it, so thank you so much for sharing. And so I totally agree with you because I don't know about this. So, and like thinking about this, what do you think of lifetime bans for those who take performance erasing drugs? Because like I think that this needs to happen because athletes needs to think about what they are making, and not just with their career but with their life and their health too. And what about you? It's number 7.
I was muted. I was trying to check the meaning of lifetime because I'm not sure if I get the question. Lifetime bans, what does it mean? Like to be banned forever or not?
Not forever. I think maybe, how can I, yeah, it will be forever.
Okay. What do you think of lifetime bans for those who take performance?
Forever.
I would say that it would be a good example for others. If you are trying to be really severe, so it would be a really good example. But in the same time, I think it's too much because as drugs turns out that drugs become quite normal in those fields in sports. I would say that forever is too much, but maybe, for example, if you are having a contest and it turns out that you found someone that you are using drugs, you just ban the person a part of that competition only, not forever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think maybe if this person is doing this for more than one time, like twice, 3 times, I think it's okay, like to.
Yes, that's nice.
Yeah.
It
But
depends
if
on the
it's like the first,
federation as
right?
well. Because, for example, in sports, we have federations, right? For example, we have the Brazilian Federation of Volleyball. Then you also have, you know what? The Euro Federation, which means that all countries of Europe, for example, are inside of this Euro Federation. So it's a lot to learn and I don't know much. I just knew something about it because, for example, I used to play handball. I love handball, by the way. I miss to play handball because here where I live, we don't have uh, handball. But for example, handball, you have the local federation, like in the country that you live, and they also have the continent federation, and they have different rules. So, for example, it would be interesting your idea, but of course that if you are talking in a large confederation, they would have different ideas and concepts about how to deal with those problems. And of course, if it's not a small uh, federation, it would be different as well.
Yeah, I was thinking too about this. So it's totally different, right? When you are in this area. So maybe, I don't know, people needed to vote to see, oh, okay, it should be banned or not. So
Don't you have
And
experience in other kind of sports, just gym workout?
no, just the workout.
Okay.
Because I tried like to play volleyball, but
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I don't have too much patience to learn.
Yes.
So
You know what? I think that workout is great, but at the same time, having experience with other sports could help us a lot to develop some skills that we normally don't develop if you are just workout. If you were just, I'm not sure if working out is a word for workout. I'm just in doubt of it. But you know, a working on team is different because you face, for example, fear. You face different feelings that you don't face when you are alone. For example, when I am at the gym, doing my exercise, it's me against me, just that, So I have to to fight procrastination, to fight, you know, uh, my weaknesses and trying to be better on it. But when you are working on team in a sport is different because you have to face lots of different things that you haven't experienced before. And I wish I could have experienced, for example, soccer when I was a kid. I was not good on it, but for example, in the handball uh, sport, I have to be stronger, to talk with others and to be brave, and to not be too much shy. So yeah, it's different when you are doing different sports. You can develop more skills. And of course, you can develop some traumas as well, because it happens when you are doing good, when you are not doing the best you can, and sometimes you feel like you are the worst. You are like, the worst of the team. But at the same time, if you are involved in a nice group, they will help you out to to continue, and that's really nice when it happens. When you are feeling bad, when you are feeling down, and they come and to encourage you to continue and to do your best, and tells you that you are doing great. So that's nice.
yeah, like maybe it's a way to get like self-knowledge too, because you know more about the things that you are able to do, that you are capable to do, and more than just do things alone. Because maybe alone you have more thoughts about how how you fail and things like this.
Yeah,
So
I like to work out alone, because I like to work out because I have this, how can I say that, my God, is, it just in it's more like deep inside me. I have time to think more when I'm working, when at my workouts. And that's good
yeah, really
because
nice.
if you want or not, when you are um, training sports like soccer or handball or volleyball, sometimes they have the panelinha. So you have the ones that they are the greatest, and you are just a little piece. Unless you're really great, and unless you are there for a long time. So it depends on the situation. But when you train by yourself, like workout or running is great as well. It's just you. You can be you. You can just be you.
Yeah, and I think like because of these groups that we have, we feel that we don't fit in that place.
Yes, true.
So
I cannot agree
and
more.
and have you ever faced this kind of situation? How was it for you?
Yes. For example, I faced different scenarios when I was training handball, for example. Uh, I started playing handball at high school, and the guys were great. And I usually was the guy that was, the one that was not too much serious. I was always joking and making fun of everything. So they doesn't took me serious. So because of that, because I had this behavior at school when I was training with them, they didn't give too much attention on my development, so they didn't help me a lot. So I would say that I had this little trauma, and it was hard for me to come back to the sport years later, because when I after I got I get married, I come back to handball, and then it was hard for me because I had this mindset that they were not taking me serious, and then it was hard to me to get involved and to do my best and to um take the bull by the horn. So, but it was okay because they don't know me. They didn't know my story. They didn't know that I was, this funny guy, this goofy guy every time. So I had more chance to develop my skills on handball. I would say that I learned it more in second half time of my life than the first half, because in the first half I was I I was bullied too much. They bullied too much bullying, but the second half was perfect. I learned it a lot and I miss it. What about you? Did you have any bad experience?
No, I I I was thinking here and not, but like my neighbor, he loves like soccer, and his dad always say to him that he is bad, and he is really bad. And nowadays I can't see him like practicing soccer because of this, and he is just like 13 years old. So maybe this will be a trauma for him. So
So it
I
was a long time ago, right? You said me that you are 21, right?
yeah, but my neighbor, he is like 13 years old now.
Okay. So
And
it
he
was a
like
few years ago. Okay.